What if humanity's greatest weapon was not its armies, not its machines, not even its science, but something invisible, fragile, and hauntingly beautiful? Something born not in laboratories but in the beating heart of its people. Music? Far from Earth, in the impossible crystalline hall of the Celestial Council, Ambassador Lyra Solen walked alone beneath the cold light of 12 alien civilizations who had gathered to decide humanity's worth. She carried no weapons, only words, only the faint hope that her species might be recognized among the stars. The chamber shimmered with living crystal, its walls glowing like frozen lightning, its platforms filled with envoys older than Earth's continents, beings of light, of shifting flesh, of iron will forged across millennia. High Arbitrator Kethril of the Zaphirites presided, his prism body scattering brilliance like a living cathedral, and his voice, both beautiful and merciless, declared the trial begun. Humanity's weapons were displayed first: rifles, tanks, rockets, nuclear fire. The chamber laughed. General Drokhan of the Corvani, towering in armor etched with centuries of battle scars, roared that even his ancestors' stone weapons had been deadlier. The collective spoke in one voice, mocking humanity's chemical toys. Lyra stood silent, blood roaring in her ears, until the chamber turned to science. Holograms of Earth's telescopes, medicine, quantum theory shimmered like fragile promises. Yet Dr. Kalen Vare of the Vorathi, tall, pale, and cold as moonlight, dismissed them as echoes without substance. Then came culture, the last desperate hope. Lyra revealed Earth's art, brushstrokes, words, and finally music. Drokhan bellowed with scorn, the collective sneered, the luminaries dimmed in disdain. But Kalen Vare leaned forward, intrigued, his black eyes sharp with a curiosity his kind were not known to feel. Lyra, voice trembling yet defiant, played a piece of Bach, and the chamber froze as the melody washed across it. For a moment, minds that had never known emotion faltered. Kalen Vare felt something awaken, faint, dangerous, like a spark in dry grass. Yet the council dismissed it as noise, condemned humanity to Class C irrelevance, and Lyra walked out humiliated. But Vare could not forget the music. It echoed in his mind, haunting him, refusing to die. Days later, against every law of his people, Kalen Vare traveled in secret to Earth, a world primitive in its machines yet radiant in its strange, imperfect beauty. In the quiet of a human laboratory, he found Dr. Seren Ilaria, a scientist who had once been a pianist before war and duty silenced her hands. Together they conducted forbidden experiments, alien minds exposed to human music, and what they discovered terrified him. Human melodies lit neural pathways in alien brains that had been dormant for centuries, sparking creativity, rebellion, dreams. A Vorathi subject wept at a simple violin sonata, though his species had never known tears. A luminaris light being flickered in chaotic patterns after hearing jazz disrupting its perfect symmetry. Even fragments of rhythm shattered the collective's hive-mind unity, birthing individuality in voices that had been one. Music, Vare realized, was not noise. It was contagion. It was liberation. Serene warned him what would follow. The council would crush this discovery, erase it before it spread, but already whispers were traveling the stars. Pilots smuggled recordings hidden in cargo. Warriors marched to human drums. Secret concerts flickered to life in abandoned stations, alien slaves swaying to songs they could not understand, yet could not resist. The galaxy was trembling, and the rulers grew afraid. The council's response was brutal. They formed the Cultural Purity Division, a shadow armada tasked with hunting music down. Entire colonies were purged for harboring human recordings. Instruments were burned in public pyres. Musicians vanished into silence. The council declared that humanity's contamination must be eradicated before it fractured the galaxy. But it was already too late. Lyra, cast aside as a failed ambassador, became the voice of a movement. Seren, her hands scarred but unbroken, returned to her piano, playing in hidden chambers deep beneath cities where alien listeners risked death just to hear a note. And Kalen Vare, once cold and detached, became the unlikely torchbearer of rebellion. broadcasting forbidden symphonies hidden inside cosmic radiation signals, melodies disguised as background noise but carrying freedom across light years. In the darkened corridors of forgotten outposts, slaves hummed human tunes as chains clinked. In barracks, soldiers beat rhythms against metal walls, their discipline unraveling into chaos. The collective fractured as individuality bloomed, its hive collapsing into countless voices singing their first songs. The Purity Division struck harder, executions, burnings, silencing entire systems. But the more they tried to kill music, the louder it grew. A Luminaris child, once a being of perfect light, painted with sound after hearing Earth's jazz, creating radiant patterns no algorithm could explain. A Corvani warlord deserted his post after hearing a single human lullaby, confessing that the song haunted him more than any victory. Even Kalen Vare himself found his once sterile dreams invaded by melodies, by visions of things his species had outlawed centuries ago. Love, longing, sorrow. For the Varathi, emotion had been a disease, and now he carried it gladly. The council doubled its fury, branding music as a weapon of chaos, humanity as a cancer to be cut out. Armadas moved toward Earth, ready to erase the source. But the resistance struck first. Lyra's voice echoed across hidden channels. They can silence one note. They cannot silence the song. Across the galaxy, alien rebels rose, their banners not of weapons, but of sound. Seren's piano pieces, recorded in secret, became the hymns of revolution. Kalen, once the Council's prized scientist, defected entirely, his broadcasts turning whole fleets against their masters. The galaxy burned, not in fire, but in harmony. On a shattered moon, rebels sang together as they fell. On a frozen station, prisoners hummed while awaiting execution, their voices carrying further than any scream. The Council's silence was crumbling, and at the heart of it one undeniable truth thundered across the stars. Once a mind has tasted music, it can never return to silence. What began as Earth's humiliation had become the galaxy's liberation. Humanity, dismissed as weak, as primitive, had given the stars a gift more dangerous than any weapon: the ability to feel. And though the Council's fleets raged, though billions died in the struggle, the song spread, unstoppable, eternal. From Earth's fragile cradle had risen the Symphony of Rebellion, and in its notes was the promise of something greater than conquest, greater than empires, greater even than survival itself. The promise that life, however flawed, however imperfect, could sing. And so history would remember. Not the Council's decrees, not the fleets that burned, but the moment when one trembling human pressed play on a fragile device in a hall of crystal. And the galaxy, for the first time, learned what it meant to have a soul.